Hello everyone. I am Manohar Kumar, Assistant Professor of English from Government College Devgad. Today we are going to study about the poem Frost at Midnight composed by S.T. Coleridge. In the previous lesson we have discussed about the introduction of the poem and poet as well as two parts of the text of the poem. And today we are going to study the third part of the text of the poem. The poem Frost at Midnight belongs to a group of poems called conversational poems. It has a great autobiographical interest since it refers to the years spent by Coleridge at Christ Hospital. The poem gives a compact expression to Coleridge's creed of nature as developed under the influence of Wordsworth. This poem is also called Wordsworthian poem. Let us start the poem. It is a frosty night. The poet is sitting all alone in his cottage. Only he is sleeping by his side. He sees a film fluttering on the grate and interprets its movements according to his moods. So, the poem, it is a frosty night, and the poet is sitting all alone in the cottage. Dear baby, that sleepest cradled by my side, whose gentle breathing heard in this deep calm, fill up the interspired vacancies and momentary pauses of the thought. My baby, so beautiful, it thrills my heart with tender gladness. Thus I look at thee and think that thou shalt learn far other lore. This passage is addressed to the poet's son, Hartley Coleridge. Here, the poet remembers how he was himself brought up in the suffocating atmosphere of London, while his son will be brought up in entirely different surroundings. Dear baby, the sleepest cradled by my side, my dear son, sleeping in the cradle by my side. The poet says, Dear baby, addressing to his son, Dear baby, that sleepest cradled by my side, sleeping in the cradle by my side, whose gentle breathing heard in this deep calm, fill up the interspersed vacancies. Interspersed vacancies means vacant period that interrupted the poet's thoughts. The poet says, in this deep silence, I can clearly hear the sound of my gentle breathing, which fills up the short intervals between the various thoughts that throng my minds. The poet says, in this deep silence, I can clearly hear the sound of your breathing, which fills up the short intervals between the various thoughts that throng my mind. Interspersed vacancies and momentary pauses of the thoughts. Pauses means intervals of the thought. My baby is so beautiful. My baby, who is so beautiful, it thrills my heart with tender gladness. Thus, to look at thee means you, and think that you shall learn for other lore. Lore means knowledge. Lore means knowledge, and it for other sins. So the poet says, you are a lovely little child, and looking at you fills my heart with a tender joy. And I have decided that you will receive an entirely different education from the one I got, and you will be brought up in different circumstances. And in far other sense means you will be brought up in different circumstances, different atmosphere. For the poet here says, for I was reared in the great city. For since I was reared means brought up, I was brought up in the great city of London. Pant means suffocated amid cloistered dim, dark places, and so not means nothing lovely but the sky and stars. The poet compares his circumstances with the circumstances of his son. I was brought up in the great city of London, where confined to congested houses and buildings, I could see nothing beautiful except the sky and the stars. There was nothing to see, sky and star in the city of London, because there was everything congested. There was lack of nature. But the poet, addressing his son, says, you will be brought up in different circumstances, in different atmosphere, and in the great city pent mid cloister dim, and so not lovely but the sky and stars. There was nothing to see lovely things in the great city of London except the sky and stars. But you, my baby, shall wander like a breeze. But, my baby, you shall be uh, wander Wander means roam, like a slow wind. Like there is a simile in this line. By lakes and sandy shores beneath the crags. Crags means rocks of ancient mountains and beneath the clouds, which emerge in their bulk both lakes and shores and mountain crags. In the next lines, the poet describes the the atmosphere and circumstances of his son, in which he will be brought up by the poet. The circumstance, the scene, the beauty of nature. The poet says, addressing his son, "But you, my little son, but thou, my baby, but you, my little son, will enjoy the freedom of the wind to roam about along the lakes and the sandy seashores, under the rocks of ancient mountains, and beneath the clouds which reflect the vast lakes, oceans, and mountains." The poet, addressing his son, and describe the circumstances and atmosphere of the countryside where, in the present time, the poet lived. You will, which images in bulk both lakes and shore and mountains crags, so shall thou see and hear the lovely shapes and sounds intelligible, and mountains crag, so shall thou see and hear the lovely shapes and sounds intelligible of that eternal language which thy God utters, who from eternity doth teach himself in all, and all things in himself, great universal teacher, he shall mould thy spirit, and by giving make it ask. In these lines, the influence of William Wordsworth can be noticed. Wordsworth had great faith in the moral influence of nature. Here, the poet eh, says, God is the supreme teacher of mankind, but he teaches through the language of nature. So, nature is great teacher, and his son will mold in the influence of nature. The poet here, the Wordsworthian thoughts are uh, described here. The influence of William Wordsworth can be noticed in these lines. For Wordsworth, nature is everything. Nature is God, nature is teacher, nature is parents. For Wordsworth, like Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge here describes nature. So the poet says to his son, You will hear the lovely shapes and hear the sweet sounds of everlasting language of God. The poet says, addressing to his son, you will hear the lovely shapes and hear the sweet sounds of the everlasting language of God, who has been manifest in all objects of nature, from whom all these objects derive their existence. Nature is a great teacher of mankind. Nature will mold your personality in the right manner. You will be so influenced by nature that you will seek her company all the more. Here, in these lines, the theory of pantheism also can be noticed. According to this theory, nature is everything. Nature is everything. We all are natures and nothing outside of the nature. So it was William Wordsworth's effect that the poet S.T. Coleridge describes in this poem. So, thank you for today. It's the poem's next and concluding part we will discuss in our next lesson. Thank you for today.